It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcasting all the way from Barcelona, Spain, Dr. Victor Lloro. He's a DDS with a PhD, oral and maxillofacial surgeon at Dentista Center Dental Sant Andreu. I'm sure I mispronounced all of those. He's a co-founder and R&D consultant at Astradentium Health Technologies. And you know the old saying that dentist stands for, the D is for doctor, and then the E on dentist stands for engineer, and then the TIST is artist. His brother, Ivan Lloro, has 2 masters in science in electrical engineering and space studies. He's the co-founder and CEO of Astradentium Health Technologies. He gets to be the CEO because he's the older brother. That's just the way it is. I mean, my older brother feels your pain, Victor, so you'll have to reach out to Paul someday to be comfort. But before we start, I got to tell you my only engineering joke. Can I do that?
Sure, of course.
So there's 3 types of engineers. If you plug it in, it's electrical like you. If it moves, it's mechanical engineering, like an engine or a motor. And if it doesn't move, like a building or a bridge, it's a civil engineer. And they're all 3 sitting around the table. And the electrical engineer like you says, you know, God had to be an electrical engineer. And they're like, why is that? And they go, well, look at the brain, the spine, the nerves. It's all electricity. And the mechanical engineer said, no, I went to a ballet last night and I saw all the moving parts. God had to be a mechanical engineer. And the civil engineer said, no, he was definitely a civil engineer. And they're like, a civil engineer? Nothing moves, a land building? How could he be a civil engineer? And they said, who else would put a wastewater treatment through a recreational park? That's my only bad joke of the day. Oh, I got more jokes for you because Ivan, I don't know about what they think of Ivan in your country, but over here, isn't that Ivan the Terrible? I mean, how many names did that guy had from Russia? He was Ivan the Terrible, he was Ivan the Formidable, Ivan the Fearsome. Which Ivan are you?
That's a difficult one.
Well, if you're the coronavirus with your products, that's what you should be. Say, to the coronavirus, you're Ivan the Fearsome, the Terrible, the Formidable, because that's really why I had you on today. You basically had a breakout product during this coronavirus pandemic. Is that correct?
That's correct. Although the history of this product actually goes back since 2014. We actually detected the problem for the cross-contamination problem in dental clinic environments. And then we started developing, Victor and supported by me, we started developing the OBF. And then, the rest is history. We proposed that to the accelerator from the European Space Agency, because, the origin of all this actually comes from a research that Victor has been doing on space dentistry. Maybe we can go back to that later. And basically, we proposed the project. We got funded, and afterwards, we kept developing that, getting partnerships like the one with Protecno, getting more grants for the European Institute of Technology and several others. And it was just when we actually reached the mature state and we started manufacturing that, oh gosh, this COVID-19 craziness started. So it was just by coincidence. We detected the problem much before.
We'll talk about the problem, because your website is Astradentium, and your product is oralbiofilter.com. So it says oral biofilter is and by the way, I never do commercials. Did you pay me money to come on the show?
No, I'm not aware of that.
No, but you live in Barcelona.
We can talk about it if you want.
You live in Barcelona, so if you come to my show, I get to come spend a week at your house and sit on the beach of the Mediterranean. But it says Oral Biofilter, OBF, is an effective cross-infection solution for a safer dental practice. While performing standard dentistry and hygienist procedures such as drilling or ultrasonic teeth cleaning, pathogen-infested blood and saliva aerosols are released into the dental office environment. These stay airborne for 2 hours and can penetrate face masks, becoming a source of infections among dental professionals and patients. The OBF is a simple device that, once attached to the high volume evacuation system available in any dental chair, provides an effective barrier which isolates the oral cavity from the dental environment. That is very, very cool. So whose idea was this? Was it the younger brother, the oral surgeon? Was it the older brother, the engineer in space technology? How did this idea come about?
In all fairness, it was a joint effort. The history of that actually was, it's quite interesting. We were just, having a couple of beers and taking ideas. And then we realized that there was this new accelerator program from the European Space Agency that I knew about because, I work in the space sector. And we were discussing with Victor and said, hey, what about, do you have any cool idea that we could, let's say, develop and go forward? And then, Victor automatically raised the issue of cross-contamination because it was part of his PhD for, let's say, cross-contamination in closed environments, in particular in space.
How in the world does a oral surgeon also get a PhD in? What was your PhD in? Space science?
Aerospace Dentistry.
Space dentistry?
Yeah.
Holy moly! So
you're
cool. So you're an oral and maxillofacial surgeon and space dentist?
Wow! No, space dentist, PhD in aerospace dentistry.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, there are only like 5 or 6 in the world.
Wow. So what did pulling out wisdom teeth and aerospace dentistry have in common? Where's the connection there?
Wow. Well, in fact, first of all, is like I'm a fan of all that sci-fi, and when I was a child, I always saw the cinema, Star Wars. That's it. But the other side is that's true. I never want to say the same, but for me, my brother is the big star, and he is aerospace engineer. And then for me, it's like a link to kind of stay with him and work together. And one time I was working with him in one thing with the European Aerospace Agency in a project. We could fly and we could stay in microgravity. It was so cool, and that was the seed that I need to grow up in this subject,
So what were your parents? I mean, you got 2 doctorates, your brother's got 2 master's degrees and is almost done with his PhD. What was your mom, like a nuclear scientist, or what were your mom and dad?
No, I mean, my mom is a chemist and our dad is basically an engineer. So, I mean, we were always, let's say, encouraged to study, but I guess that we are not all overachievers. I mean, no one actually forced us to do that.
Well, wow, they must be very, very proud. I'm just happy. I got 4 boys. I'm just happy they're right now they're all out of jail, and so that's a big victory for me. Big victory for me. So talk about this. Victor, you're an oral surgeon, and the pandemic breaks out, and all the growing up and all the childhood. I mean, they even named it the Spanish influenza. You guys are from Spain because that was the only neutral party during World War I that could actually talk about this thing. Did you ever, when you were being born in Barcelona, Spain, did you and your brother ever think that you would live through another Spanish influenza and practice through a pandemic?
No, but so Ivan said before. That's true that several years before, we saw that there are a way for the cross-contamination that everybody don't want to work about it is the micro droplets and the flu infect, and that's the point. Several years, we believe that that's true. If any disease could fly for the air, it could be a big problem. We never dream in our nightmares that it could be a pandemic, but it was a reality, and it could be a reality, in fact.
Actually, when we started, the main goal was to solve, let's say, common dangerous cross-contamination and cross-infection problems, like, for example, hepatitis C, or even not so important, but extremely, let's say, expensive, like the normal influenza. But no, we were not rooting for a pandemic. And actually, we're extremely sad for the current situation. And actually, but at the same time, we are proud that this that started like our, let's say, our pet project, actually, it's helping fighting against this terrible disease.
Well, now on Dental Town, everybody is kind of freaking out that there was a really famous a celebrity plastic surgeon that dies of COVID, and he was young, and he was healthy, and he was a sharp man, and he looks like he did everything right, and he still died. So my question to you is, I feel like I got out of school in '87, and due to HIV, we got serious. They started wearing gloves and masks, and we got really, really serious. And I think it really prepared us for the pandemic. But do you think that the protocols that we implemented for HIV back in the 80s or 90s is not enough for coronavirus in 2020 because of aerosols? Do you think that? Because I remember when they were teaching us all about HIV and AIDS, they were saying, I remember Dr. What was his name? The periodontist, and he said in our class, he goes, just thank God it's an STD. Could you imagine if that disease would have been in the air like the common flu? And I thought, holy moly. And then sure enough, the next one is in the air like a common flu. But do you think that our preparations that were implemented for HIV and AIDS pandemic that went on to kill 37 million people, do you think they're strong enough for coronavirus? Or do you think we need to do more things because of your invention of aerosols?
Well, I want to start to saying that, first of all, dentists, we are experts in control of diseases, cross-control. All of us sterilize the material, disinfect the ground, all the days. But since now, we forget the air. We forget the air because we never believed that it could be a problem. Anybody believed that it could be a problem. Then our protocols aren't enough. We need to start to working to close to avoid the aerosols getting out the mouth of our patients, because remember, they could be 2 hours in the air, and we are working with 20 patients per day. With 2 hours per patient is too much. We are smoking virus all the day. We can have a mask. We can change the mask, but we need the first idea is, if the virus is not in the air, why I need a barrier, a physical barrier? Because I know that the virus is in the air. Our idea is we need to change or improve our protocols, because the COVID, it's sad, but teach us that it doesn't enough.
Well, a guy asked on Dental Town, Dr. Walrus Tooth Says new owner here, took over the practice last month from the old doc. As a precaution for COVID, the old doc told the hygienist to only hand scale and not use the ultrasonics. I have kept that precaution in place. However, this week we've had some tough cases around braces, heavy calculus loads, where I really wish we could have used an ultrasonic, and I feel we would have done a better, faster job. Coronavirus, can we go back to ultrasonic scaling right now, just wearing our gloves and mask and a shield, or do you think that's creating too much aerosol, and or would you say no?
Okay, that's a single answer about this. If you want to use the same technology we have now, you could use the oral biofilter because the splatter don't getting out the mouth. If you want to eliminate of your office all the technology, okay, we can work like 1 century ago, but it's not. It is not possible. We need to improve. And if you want, it's necessary to use the ultrasonic. Of course, our patient need it, but we need it protect us. Then use the new technology, use the barriers for the aerosols, like the oral biofilter, for example.
Okay, so is that your main product? Is that the oral biofilter? Is your company a singular product, and that's the OBF oral biofilter from the company Astradentium?
No, not at all. I mean, actually, the OBF it's the first product in the market, but we are a dental research and development company. Therefore, we have several more in the pipeline. And actually, there is our second product is going to be launched within this year, which actually that's an innovation for dental labs, actually. Basically, we are reimagining the UCLA pillar, the UCLA abutment. We have created a completely universal abutment that can, I mean, it's not only, let's say, inexpensive, but it can flex to whatever position you want. So it's the next evolution.
So that's for a dental implant, right? That's a dental implant product?
Correct.
Yeah, it's an abutment.
Okay, so you have one product now, which is the oral biofilter (OBF) for an effective cross-infection solution for a safer dental implant, and then you're going to come out with a more flexible dental implant abutment.
That's correct. Actually, it's a universal abutment that, in practice, makes obsolete all the current available UCLA style abutments.
Damn, those are big words.
Well, we live for what we talk about, really.
So will you? There's a show in America called Shark Tank, and it's when you go on. Have you seen the show?
Indeed, yes.
Oh, I didn't know they played it on the other side of the pond. But they would always say now, if you love lawyers, you say, well, you just get the intellectual property right, and you don't get into the manufacturing, marketing, and all that stuff. They just want you to get all the legal stuff and then outsource to someone. Like the biggest implant maker is Straumann, because they've been buying everyone. They bought Neodent in Brazil. They bought all these companies. Are you thinking that you'll, as a two masters in electrical engineering and space science, and do you think that you'll outsource it to a big manufacturer to actually make it, manufacture, distribute it, or will you do that in-house?
Well, we're open to any options. I mean, we don't have any reservations on either one. Our main, let's say, objective, nevertheless, is to ensure the maximum quality. What we don't strive for is, I mean, we've seen cases where the intellectual property has been, let's say, licensed, but the big manufacturer doesn't really deliver the kind of quality that we're expecting, and we don't compromise on quality. So It's not that we're against licensing the IP. It's just that we are not doing this. I mean, our main driver, it's not economic profit. Obviously, we're a company, so we are a for-profit company, but that's not our main driver. I mean, the main idea behind what we're doing is that we are bringing dental innovations from dentists to market. I mean, we are not a big company. I mean, we're not a company that basically creates something and markets dentists that they should use that. All our ideas come from the dentist professionals. So it's you that basically know what you need, and we make it possible.
So what's the name of the implant system? The universal flexible dental implant, is that what you're calling it, or what's it going to be called?
Well, I mean, we don't have let's say a name, but I mean the one that probably will make it to the store is the universal. I mean, universal abutment, Astradentium's universal abutment. That's the one that it's heading the race. So probably that will be the final name.
So what's that name?
Astradentium universal abutment.
Astradentium universal abutment. Dental implant abutment. That is amazing, man. You guys. So what did you want to talk about more today? Should we stay on the oral biofilter, or do you also want to? Well, let's talk about both. Let's stay on the oral biofilter. You say is an effective cross-infection solution for a safer dental implant. The OFB is OFB or OBF?
OBF.
OBF. The OBF is attached. Is a simple device. Once attached to the high volume evacuation system, it's going to be an effective barrier which isolates the oral cavity from the dental office. When someone's using an ultrasonic cleaner, those aerosols, I assume they go through the whole office, because one of the problems I've had about my dental office is if I ever went on a vacation and was gone for a week or two, when you come in the dental office, it just has that smell. And the smell, and you know it's in the walls, the carpet, because I remember one time we were remodeling and we had a bunch of stuff out by the trash can, and it even had that smell, and it was like, wallpaper and carpet. I'm like, oh my God. First of all, what is that smell?
Well,
that smell, in fact, are the particles of the aerosols that goes down after 2 hours. It does the same like when before I use the oral biofilter, I go home after my work and my wife tell me always, hey, you're smelling dentist, come on, go to shower and then return here and kiss me, but not after, that's the point. That smell, in fact, are particles that get out the mouth of all our patients. And all of us knows that there are mouths of our patients that are nasty. Then you can see it, but you can't smell it. And if we have a big microscope, we could see on the surface of all the office a lot of pathogens and micro droplets. It's so crazy, in fact.
And when did the oral biofilter come out? How do you order it, and how much does it cost?
Well, actually, in the US, the distributor is Practicon, and they sell it in...
The company that sells it is Practicon?
That's the distributor in the US, that's correct. And Practicon.com, you can find them. And actually, they sell it in 2 formats, 40-unit boxes and 6-unit boxes for $225, and the other one, I believe it's around $56 respectively.
And is it a single-use device or multiple use, or how many uses do you get out of that filter?
Okay, this version in particular is single use, because when it was designed, actually we had in mind diseases like HIV. And therefore, we knew that disinfecting the interior part of the tube was not advisable. But there will be probably an autoclavable version in the future. But right now, but first we want to verify by clinical trial and study that actually it's safe to do so. That's something that maybe it wasn't mentioned before, but when we designed the OBF, we actually did that. First, we optimized the shape by computer simulations, and then we actually have performed. Victor led a clinical trial that actually is the basis for the study and the paper that is going to be published in the Journal of the European Dentistry in the coming weeks. So we are the only product that has been scientifically tested. I'm saying this because we have seen many, let's say, copycats, which actually we have tried, that do not protect, and actually that's a crime. Not because they are violating our IP, but because they do not protect, and it really creates for a very unsafe environment. So we are the only ones that, we have designed it and tested and really know how effective it is. So.
And what does Ann Page Griffin? She's the CEO of Practicon out of Greenville, North Carolina. What is she saying about it? Is she selling many of these? Is it successful? What's your feedback from her?
Well, they are actually. We have a good feedback that they are selling quite a lot. But Practicon, they are our first distributor. Obviously, they are. We had some discussions with other bigger ones, but that's, let's say, in process. In any case, if any of the listeners really want to have for another distributor, they are welcome to ask for it to them, or if they are distributors themselves, they are also welcome to talk with us.
So you did talk to other distributors, and but you're happy with Practicon.
Well, Practicon was the first one that actually closed the deal. The other ones, especially the very big ones, they are very bureaucratic, and therefore it needs to go through many departments, and that's why we are still waiting for a final answer.
Yeah, and that is why when I was in high school, the average age of the Fortune 500 companies traded on the S&P 500 and the Russell 2000 and NASDAQ were grandparents. They were all over 60 years old, and now those companies are teenagers. They're the mortality rate. Just from 2000 to 2020, half the Fortune 500 companies are gone, merged, acquired, whatever, and they think that within 20 years, the average company on the S&P 500 would only be 10 years old. Because of what you just said, the old companies, they get too bureaucratic. When you're young right now and you're a startup and it's you and your brother and you just make decisions and you go, go, go. And then when you start getting, once you get 1,000 employees, it starts getting crazy regulations. And by the time you get 10,000 employees, I hear you. And that's why they die. And people have to solve that problem, or they'll have to talk to Darwin. And the young kids, that's why, a lot of young kids, they say, well, I got a great business idea, but I could never compete with one of those big companies. Dude, like I just said, 1980, they were all 60 years old. Now they're all teenagers. Those old, it's kind of like David and Goliath. Remember the book? Who's that famous writer that wrote the book on David and Goliath? Malcolm Gladwell. But the David and Goliath book was amazing because they didn't tell the whole story. So he found the story amazing, so he went and studied it. Turns out that Goliath, had all the technology, had all the armor, the swords. He was invincible, but he was weighed down with several 100 pounds of iron. And here was David, and David was looking at him, and he just had on, he just had a slingshot and a pair of trousers, and he realized that the fact that he was so lightweight, he could maneuver all the way around him and the guy could never respond. And that was why David was able to take out Goliath, because Goliath was burdened down with 1,000 pounds of all this armor. And that's what old companies are. They're just bureaued down by bureaucracy. And the other thing that happens is when you hire, it's layers of management. Like I always tell dentists that with these group practices, I don't like the term DSOs because it starts off as an individual practice and then you got an associate. Now it's a group practice. And when I started my practice, I was professionally lonely being the only dentist. So the first thing I did is went and got another kid. I should have got someone old and smart, but I got someone just as young and dumb as me, and we had fun. And then when you get to a second location, now you're group practice, multi-location. So that's group practice, multi-location. Doesn't matter if you have 2 office locations or 1,000. But here's the deal. Whenever you go into a town and the group practice goes to north, south, east, and west, and they get like 4 offices to cover Barcelona so that they can utilize direct mail, TV, radio, media that hits everyone. They lower their cost of new patient acquisitions, but then they get one scale of management. They could have someone full-time in HR, legal, accounting, marketing, and they do great. But it's that second layer of management when somebody from another state or country buys you, and now they need another 17% off the top. Well, hell, 17%, I don't even pay 17% for my lab and supplies. What the hell could they do for me? And so the deal is, when you look at management structures, one layer of management always gives you scale and so many advantages. I mean, going all the way back to geometry and leverage. But it's that second layer of management. And when you start looking at Fortune 500 companies, they have 3 or 4 layers of management. And the more money those guys make, the more they have to justify their existence. So the more forms they fill out and the more paperwork. And the best movie in the world ever was a movie called Office Space, where this guy just kept coming by saying, if you could fill out the TPO report. Yeah, I mean, just crazy, stupid stuff. So to be mean and lean, just one location, mean and lean, multiple locations, one layer of management. But once you get 2 layers of management, you've seen the death of the S&P 500 drop from 60 plus to under 20, headed towards 10 and under. You got to move like David, don't be afraid of Goliath. He's weighted down in bureaucracy. So say the price again of what you're selling this through Practicon with.
Okay, so basically, each unit in the end it's between $5 and $6. So
$5 and $6.
Right, because I mean the 6-unit box is $36. And the 40-unit box is $225.
Okay, and you are going to need one of these for every patient you work on. And how's it? Sales are going good, but you would like to get another distributor, or is Practicon you think doing it for you?
Well, I mean, Practicon it's a great partner, but they are, let's say, very geographic centered in the North Carolina. Therefore, well, I mean, they're just the first ones to start distributing in the US after the FDA approval. But obviously, well, we want to expand to the rest of the US. And although Practicon also, let's say, sells deliveries to the whole US, well, we're open for other distributors.
Well, are you talking to Stan Moore a lot? He's the marketing director at Practicon, and that's what it's all going to come down to. Because you have the infrastructure with UPS, the United States Postal Service, and Amazon. Well, that's a great question. Are you thinking about selling this on Amazon?
In all fairness, not yet. That's something that has been considered. But well, basically the overhead that Amazon charges is far from trivial. And actually that kind of, let's say, distribution should be done within the US. It's much easier to coordinate from a company that is US based that in our sites from Europe. So again, we're open for other potential, let's say, distributors that also distribute through Amazon. It's just that we don't plan to do it in the short term directly ourselves.
Well, tell us what the costs are at Amazon. I mean, how did Practicon be able to buy the product from you, ship it to a dentist, sell it for a price, and make a profit? But Amazon couldn't do that. What does that deal look like with Amazon to make you come to that conclusion?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a long story. Basically, let's say that the first one, I mean, besides what Amazon charges, which is not small one, as I said, the main issue is having, let's say, well, basically some storage space in the US and some local management in the US. And again, this creates another extra layer. Therefore, when you add up the storage management and capabilities within the US, plus all the order fulfilling through Amazon, that starts to begin to be non-trivial. In any case, that's why we actually prefer to have more distributors within the US, because I mean that first solves the problem of access. And also currently the international import-export issues, but also that's also the reason why we're also looking for a US-based partner, because now we're introducing the product, let's say, through international shipping, but it makes more sense that it's manufactured in the US. Therefore, we are also, let's say, getting into agreements with local manufacturers for actually doing everything on site. And then, only then, it makes sense that they are also distributing through other distributors or even Amazon. Also, from Amazon point of view, what we have seen is that actually what it's sold there mostly are the bad Chinese illegal copies that are not FDA approved. So that's also why, from a marketing standpoint, we don't want to get lost into the fuss of all the bad products and unsafe products that are sold on Amazon. So it's not an Amazon problem, but well, I mean, this is, let's say, a marketing issue that we need to solve and consider.
Wow, lot of things to think about while you're moving in the fast lane. So, are you getting feedback from dentists? Are they telling you what they think of all this and all that stuff?
Well, basically, the feedback so far is they love it. First of all, let's say it makes practice more cleaner. They save hands because, well, I mean, everything is drier, apparently. Well, Victor probably can talk more about that, but everything is drier, therefore easy to work with. And let's say that also, incidentally, we have got reports that they love the fact that they leave the dental operatory without being, I mean, with that smelly flavor that actually you were referring to before. Because, well, I mean, that spray, that aerosol doesn't leave the mouth. Therefore, it's not only a safer practice, but it's also, let's say, more convenient, even from the health and beauty approach, for lack of a better expression.
So you talk about aerosol-based cross-contamination dental operatories and mitigation systems, extraoral and others. What are these others? Or because you have yours, you have the Astradentium product, the oral biofilter. What are other mitigating factors that you're referring to?
Well, basically, what we are referring to is that currently you can see in the market some external systems that basically it's a huge vacuum machine that stands side by side to the dental chair, and well, you have more or less big tube in front of the patient.
Well, in fact, I can talk about this extraoral vacuum. In fact, it's a big problem in our office because it's another in another big machine around our patient. Most of us have microscope. Most of us have different machinery around our patient. Now, if you are using another big machine like a vacuum, it's too difficult to work with this machine around the patient. Also, it is only works if the mouth of the vacuum be at 20 centimeters of the mouth of the patient. Then 20 centimeters is a hand. Then it can it I'm sure it disturbed the work or of the dentist or the system. It is so difficult to work with this, and also it produces a lot of noise. It's like a hair machine. A lot of noise. I don't know if you hear never an extraoral vacuum, but it's really noisy, you know.
And also there is another issue that we shouldn't forget. Those systems normally, let's say, sterilize what has been suctioned, sterilized through UV and carbon-based filters, etc. But all the and that filters a lot, more than 95% of what's there. But the remaining part is again delivered to the dental operatory space. If you use the OVF, everything that's removed, actually it's removed through the vacuum system. So it goes directly outside the dental operatory. You are not recycling the contaminants.
So what do you think, dentist, I mean, there's so many threats. If you go to, I wish you would just go to Dental Town. And, we got 275,000 dentists that have posted 6 million times. And if you just type in the word aerosol, you say, anybody use an ultrasonic shed? How do you reduce hygiene aerosols? Aerosol reduction. Do we need to wear a face shield? And it's a big thread. Some of the people, they hate face shields. One saying bioaerosol. I mean, in fact, I just searched for aerosols. You're not even gonna believe this. It pulled up 1,097 threads on Dental Town. I wish you would answer a couple of these aerosol questions, and then I'll post the video in there so they get to read what you're saying, but they get to see the video. But which one of these questions you want to ask? Let's go with just aerosol reduction in general. There's so many threads that just say that, and anyone not wearing a face shield. So first of all, how do you reduce aerosols, and what would you say to dentists who they say, I mean, the name of this thread is anyone else not wearing a face shield? I mean, there's some people.
Let's don't forget that face shields protect you from splatter, not from aerosols. So the only effective way of removing aerosols as Victor actually said before, they remain airborne for more than 2 hours, as several studies have shown. The only way to remove them is to remove them at the source. And that's why we created the OVF. Because if you're having a face shield, sure, all, let's say, this splatter of saliva or blood or similar, let's say, fluids don't reach your face, but the aerosol actually goes around the face shield. So you're still, let's say, breathing the aerosol. That doesn't protect you, let's say, very effectively from aerosols. And it's not only you as a doctor, it's also the next patient, because being airborne for 2 hours, that's several patients in a row. Plus, let's not forget that the aerosol, if it's not removed at the source, it's like a small grain that it's slowly being deposited into the walls, the instruments, and everything. So it's contaminating the whole operatory. So short answer, they must be removed at the source. Anything else it helps, but it's not a solution.
Okay, you're getting massive amounts of press. I called you guys. You didn't call me. I called you guys all the way over in Spain. But a pioneer filter in the world prevents patient-dentist cross-contamination. Victor Lloro has created Oral Biofilter (OBF), a system that prevents cross-contamination dental clinics between patients and dentists. It says. When you go to the dentist, you will never have thought about the importance of disinfection of the room and mainly of the chair where the interventions are performed. As with a hospital operating room, your hygienist is taken for granted. However, the risk of cross-contamination by bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens present in saliva, blood, and oral surfaces between the patient and the dentist exists. Rather, it has existed for a long time without anything being done about it. Now, Victor Lloro, a Spanish dentist, has created a filter that prevents the microparticles that are suspended in the air from damaging the work area and harming the health of the professionals. I was very surprised at when the vaccine came out. That's my next question for you. You guys, I'm talking to an oral surgeon with a PhD in aerospace dentistry. I'm talking to you with 2 master's in science degrees who's almost finished his PhD. Would both of you take the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine today or the Moderna vaccine today or Russian Sputnik vaccine? Would any of you guys take the vaccine today? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, personally, yes, of course. I mean, all of those vaccines, at least the ones developed in the US and Europe, have been, let's say, being developed according to proper procedures. The fact that that it's been so fast is because, they have invested really a lot of money in speeding the process, not because they have cut corners. Therefore, yes, they are safe, and it's the proper thing to do to get vaccinated. Not only for, not so much for fear of COVID, but also as a responsible act for third parties. I personally don't feel comfortable by being a vector and basically infect a more a senior citizen or whatever. That's my personal take. I don't know, Victor, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I believe that the vaccine it's safe. For me, the problem is not now; is the next year. I always say the same. I believe that I really believe that vaccine is really safe, but all of us knows that coronavirus it's a virus that changed a lot in the time. Then this vaccine stops the problem forever. Who knows? Because it's possible that it could be like the flu, that then every year we need the new vaccine because the virus changed it. We don't know. That's the problem for me. But really, if we are talking about if I put the vaccine in my arm whenever the state give me, of course, I believe it's safe.
And which ones are safe? Are you talking about the biotech Pfizer, the Moderna? What about the Russian Sputnik, or the the one from China? What is the Chinese
I
one called?
prefer the 2 ones, the first 2 ones, US and European ones. That's my opinion.
So the Sinovac from China and the Sputnik from Russia, you don't think would be as good as the Modernas or biotech Pfizer?
Well, there are differences in the protection and the, how can I say, US and Europe always protect our law rights, and there are a lot of institutions looking the industry if they are doing all the things well. I don't know if in Russia and China this is the same thing. Then, for me, I prefer US and Europe. That's it.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's getting a lot of I'm well. The main thing I've noticed in my whole lifetime of what's really what I think's gone wrong with so many things is the loss of trust. I mean, it just seems like so many people have lost so much faith. My two older sisters are nuns. Was a lot of faith lost in the institution of the Catholic Church for governments. I mean, ever since 1980 to 2020, in the last 40 years, Americans surveyed, only about 11% trust their government. I mean, it's pretty difficult to have an HOA that's trying to be in charge to help a third of a billion people, and 89% of the people don't even trust their own government. I mean, I think moving forward, the main thing the world needs to work on is restoring trust. I mean, it's just going to be so hard to move ahead and get things done for our children. I mean, my four boys have now turned into 6 grandchildren. And your mother already knows this, but the grandchildren are better than the children. Your mother just doesn't want to tell you that she knows this already. It's sad that I don't even want my grandchildren to go to corporate dentistry because I don't even know. I can trust, Howard's dental office. I could trust Ivan's dental office, but big Wall Street dental office owned by an MBA who's not a dentist, driving profits. I mean, maybe she would have needed a filling and they would have suggested a more expensive crown or inlay or onlay. I mean, trust is just, it's everything. Is it like that in Spain too? I mean, I can only report for the crazy U.S. dysfunctional, but what % of Spain do you think that has trust issues with their government?
Well, with the government itself, I would say it's quite high. But regarding the health sector and the health system, actually there is a lot of trust on it. So it's one of the things that in Spain we're actually quite proud of, our, let's say, public health system.
But when you say trust in health, is that a private doctor or a government hospital or a big corporate hospital? Talk about that for a minute in dentistry. What % of the dentists in Spain work for themselves privately or work for someone that owns their own office versus how many work for a corporation, a business?
Okay, here in Spain, 50%, half of all of us work for ourselves.
Half, you said?
Yeah, 50%.
50%.
Yeah, the other 50% we can divide in. I believe only 10% works for the public health. Okay. And the other 30% works for big companies that have 200 to 300 offices around Spain,
Okay, so you said, so there's 38,000 dentists in Spain. That's my number, 38,800. Is that about right?
Yeah.
And 50% are self-employed. What % did you say are in public health?
Not more than 10%.
Okay, so then now we're down to 40%. So 40% then work for a corporation?
Yeah, more or less.
And
but that's true that in the last year, in fact, for this pandemic and economic pandemic, this type of corporations are breaking down, and they are closing a lot of companies, big companies with a lot of offices. I believe this situation, this new reality, grow up our own job, because there are all people who are not. There are a lot of people who have a lot of money that, how you say, they are dentists that invest a lot of money in dentistry here in Spain, and now they are seeing that this is not a good invest, and then they are going out, and then all of us, the dentists, return to the normal way for our job. It's ourselves, our office, and that's it.
And what was the largest corporate dentistry that went under? Did one of them completely close, or are they just downsizing?
Yeah, no, it's completely closed. The biggest one here in Spain was because it's not is now. In fact, it was Dentix. Dentix could, I believe, they had 250. I believe I believe was 250 offices here in only in Spain. In only 1 year, breakdown. All the office breakdown. Then that's a new reality.
And is Dentix Dentix?
Yeah,
That's, I guess.
Yeah, and do you think? Oh my gosh, that was KKR. That was
yeah,
KKR. They own the biggest one in the United States. They own Heartland Dental, which was started by Rick Workman, who's been on the show. It says Spain KKR pulls out of deal with Spanish dental chain Dentix. That was February of 2020, so that was almost a year ago. Why do you think Spain KKR pulled out of? Why do you think they pulled out of it?
Well, actually, the news on that is basically that due to the COVID impact, KKR detected that Dentix could not financially survive the year. And actually, this has been the case. They have been declared bankrupt like 1 month ago, something like that.
yeah.
So that was the reason. COVID killed Dentix.
COVID killed. So you could say COVID killed Dentix.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Wow, that is so interesting. That's what I love about this show and Dental Town and the internet in general. I mean, I can't believe I'm in Phoenix. You guys are 10,000 kilometers away, 9 hours ahead, and are reporting live on the ground in Spain. I mean, I still think the finest century humans will ever have. You know, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon in 1969, and my iPhone is a bigger computer than what he had. And I can still remember I was born in '62. I was 7 years old, and I was watching the lunar landing, and only about one TV on every 4 houses had a TV, and everybody had their front doors open, and all the neighbors were in there. And I feel like we didn't get the individual humans stuck on Earth didn't get their global Earth computer until about 2007. And I felt like 2007, I feel just like Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. And I think now that 8 billion people have, you know, their brain is their natural intelligence, and now they're handy carrying this digital electronic device where their eyes are locked into the screen all day long. I think it's going to be our finest century because, I mean, you got all information. I remember when I was little, when my mom bought the encyclopedias, I'll never forget, I was 10, so it was 72, born in 62, and the encyclopedias were printed in 52. And I'm like, Mom, these are 20 years old. And she goes, well, they're really expensive, and I got them at a garage sale, and you'll just have to do. And now, and if you really had something on your mind, you would have to walk all the way back 8 blocks to school and go to the library and then see if they have a book on it. And the book, you know, takes 5 years to write, and then it sits in the library for 20 years. And now these kids are on Wikipedia, which is 75 million pages long, updated daily. I mean, I think this is going to be our finest century ever. Kudos on all the press. I mean, my God, if you just Google your guys' name, I mean, so many things come up. Another one, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, aerosol-borne infections fought by EIT Health-backed firm. Device helps to protect dentists and their patients from infections like COVID. So here's my question to you now. Since, you know, it was March when the World Health Organization declared a pandemic, and now we're 10 months into it and we got a vaccine. In America, there's 2 Americas. Half don't care about the virus. They think it's a common cold. They think it's crazy. And the other, and those are mostly 4 out of 4 of my 4 boys and my 82-year-old mother. You know, I mean, you know, it just is what it is. They don't care. They think the whole thing's stupid. But the 40 and under, they only need a cleaning and a filling. It's the old people who need root canals and implants and crowns and these big old treatment plans, and they've been hunkered down. And that's what's killing my office. The government made us close for 2 months. So my last year 2020 numbers, I mean, hell, it was down 16.66% just because I was closed 2 and 12 months. But when it's all firing back up, it seems to be a bunch of young faces like yours who aren't worried. They only need a cleaning filling. But do you think, when do you think the old people, when do you think the 60, 70-year-olds are going to come back in getting their big implant cases done?
Victor?
Okay, it's for me. Okay. Well, I believe it's a good question. First of all, of our elderly people need to stay safe, and our obligation, like dentists and sanitary professional, are telling them that we dentists, we are a safe place. We have a safe job, but we can't only say it. We need to demonstrate it, and the best way to demonstrate that our job is the best job, the safety job, is demonstrating that we have the knowledge and the technology to avoid the cross-contamination in our office. In fact, here in my office, all my patients, I have a lot of patients. You know, I'm surgeon. I have a lot of patients over 66, and all of them saw the machinery I have here. All of them saw the new protocols, and all of these changed his mind, and then they trust in me. I can't say, hey, come on, trust in me, I'm a doctor. It's not fair. You need to explain, you need to show the new protocols, you need to show your new machinery, and then don't worry, your patients trust in you, I'm sure.
Wow. So do you, I'm feeling for the first time ever for a long time, I mean, hope. I mean, from March, January, we were hearing I remember over Christmas, I was hearing these stories about what was going on in Wuhan, China, and all this stuff. But, we were in the middle of Christmas, and then in the new year, China was in the middle of their new year. But starting March, there's been a lot of despair. But now I sense with dentists, and I see it on Dental Town, because I go back to March and April, especially when we were closed, every thread on Dental Town, COVID, 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 COVID. In fact, just on the threads on COVID were, that's all it was. Now, they're back to just talking clinical dentistry. I mean, there's a few threads on the vaccine and all this stuff, but they're back to doing dentistry. And I had the weirdest feeling after I got my vaccine. I was in the line and went through the car thing, and it took about an hour. But when they gave the shot and I was done, they said, "Okay, you can go back to work." I was overwhelmed. I felt like a little kid running down the stairs to see what Santa Claus brought me under a tree, and I'm just driving like. I was giddy. I was like, oh my God, it's over. I survived the damn pandemic. I'm not going to die on a ventilator. And I'm starting to see hope. I'm starting to see dentists smile again. Do you sense that in Spain? Or because we're hearing, international news, they just want to scare you. If it bleeds, it leads. Are you seeing hope among dentists, or is it still lockdown and fear and sadness?
No, in fact, here in Spain it's the same. There are a lot of hope, but come on, don't be crazy. Hope is very well. Hope is the best, but we don't forget that it doesn't stop. It could be. This is a long way. This is a long run. We need to be. We need to have a lot of hopeless with this, but stay step by step.
Yeah, actually, for example, here in Spain, what happened is that people got. The vaccine news gave a lot of hope. People, let's say, relaxed during the Christmas season, and now we are paying the price with an increase, let's say, infection rate. So as Victor was saying, hope is good, but we are still not yet fully out of the woods. So let's do things properly.
And when do you think it could be back to normal? Do you think it'll take this entire year? Do you think 2020 was dead on arrival? I mean, that thing didn't even make it out of the gate. But what do you think about when will it be back to pre-corona?
Well, it's difficult to say, but my belief, it's a belief because I'm not an expert in COVID, in fact. But okay, I believe that what's the meaning of normality? Okay, first of all, if we are talking about the final of this COVID, I believe 1 year, in fact. I believe we need to wait 1 year more for the end of COVID. But I believe that never could be exactly the same. It's like when you are talking before about the HIV, anything turns before. We started to use gloves, and we never reject our gloves. Then this is the way. What's normal? It could be normal that we need a vaccine every year. It could be normal that we could work without problems. But in fact, I believe we need more protocols and new devices for a new reality, a new normality.
Mm-hmm. Actually, let's not forget that the common flu is the grandchildren of the 1918 flu. So COVID actually can have the same kind of evolution.
And before we leave, what is aerospace dentistry? Victor, you said there's only 6 people on planet Earth that are have a PhD in aerospace dentistry. What is that? And when are you going to write us an article on it or a course on Dental Town about it? I mean, gosh darn. I mean, on Dental Town, I mean, so many dentists drive Teslas. They think Elon Musk walks on water. They love everything about that guy. And I have to admit, when I saw that the rocket launched and come back down and land, I was like, oh my God, because it's so obvious. I mean, imagine how much an airplane ticket would be is if every time you got an airplane and flew from Phoenix to Barcelona, they had to throw the airplane away. Well, they don't do that. They turn it around and fly it back, and that's what we have now. We have reusable rockets. And but what is aerospace dentistry?
Okay, in fact, is the dentistry in that conditions, in conditions of aerospace. There are two big issues. In fact, the pilots and astronauts. First of all, the pilots of airlines, they have their own problems in the tooth. For example, there exists the parodontalgia or the odontocrexis. Odontocrexis, for example, it's crazy. Is that a teeth breaks by the changes of the pressure.
Okay, so then what is parodontalgia?
What is the parodontalgia? Well, in fact, it's a big pain because the changes of pressure of blood inside the tooth increase a lot, and then it became in a big damage, in a big pain. In fact, there are, I believe, all dentists have to know a little about parodontalgia, because if you did, for example, a deep cavity in your patient, but you didn't do the endodontic treatment because you believe that you don't need it, and only 1 or 2 days after he takes a plane, it could became a parodontalgia. And trust me, he or she remember you because it's crazy, the pain that appears with the parodontalgia. there are several papers that, for example, military papers that, if I don't remember, but the 20 or 25% of the French pilots, of military pilots that France sent to Afghanistan, for example, have to return to France for bariodontologists. Then the military aviation from France lose 25% of the pilots only for problems with bariodontology. It's too much.
Wow. Well, we've never had a section on Dental Town for this, and my gosh, I'm going to add a space for Aerospace Dentistry, and I'm going to post that. And my gosh, that's just amazing. I learned something new every decade, and now I did it for this decade. So hey, I want to tell you, I know we went over time, but man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for that when the shit hit the fan. Instead of running off and hiding behind a rock, you innovated and you used your brain and you started the oral biofilter. I cannot wait to see your flexible dental implant, and I hope to see post cases on that. And my gosh, it's dentists like you who just make me just proud and honored to be a part of this profession. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And the next time I see you, I hope I'll be visiting my friend in Barcelona, Spain. So my childhood friend, David Hornbrook, the most creative genius I ever knew. He's a photographer. Actually got a job with National Geographic. Nobody could believe in Wichita, Kansas. He got a job for National Geographic, and they sent him on assignment to Barcelona, Spain. And he fell in love with a beautiful girl and never came back. And his mother, Nancy, and his dad was an engineer at Boeing. They cried for a long time. And I always thought, hell, I'm going to go over to Spain. They must have some hot women over there if you take a job assignment and never come home. But I'd love to come over and see you guys, see Barcelona again. And final question. You guys had the Olympics in 1992, was it?
Correct.
And now Japan's going to try to have it this year. My gosh, you guys lived through the Olympics in your own backyard. What do you think of Japan's idea to pull off the Olympics in the middle of a pandemic?
Well, it's tough because actually it's a mass event. And frankly, I don't know how you can keep a social distance in that situation. I just recall, huge amounts of people everywhere, indeed, from everywhere in the world. So it's not only about social distance; it's also, let's say, you're in contact with the whole world in a single place. So it's the perfect, place and event to have a huge contagion, actually.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a serious Olympic contendant for the Olympics. My sport is curling, because in any sport where you can hold a beer and slide something down the ice, I know I can win this. I got the beer, I got the curling, but thanks so much for coming on the show, and promise me when you come out with that new implant that you come back on the show and tell us all about it.
Sure, we will. Thank you a lot for the invitation, indeed.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming on the show.
The same.
Bye. See you.